Hi boys and girls, it's Shane. This is where the car hit my house. We've now replaced the porch support that was here. For those who don't know, it was one of these big square supports like that with this 6x6. Now I want to replace it with a dragon because this is for my Dungeons and Dragons themed Airbnb, and a dragon would just be kind of cool to be holding up the roof, don't you think? So the next step is to build a skeleton for this, the internal structure, so we can manipulate the hands and everything on the dragon and get the pose and the shaping where we want it before we go into concrete. If you saw my mermaid statue, you know that I used aluminum foil to make the skeleton of the mermaid. I'm not going to use aluminum foil. I'm going to use this chicken wire, which is going to act very similar. So this is going to give me something to build on. It's very flexible and will hold a shape more or less the way I bend it, kind of like aluminum foil will. But in addition to holding its shape, it's going to provide some structure for the submit to adhere to. Since this is going to be such a big scale, this is going to help hold everything together and just make it a lot stronger. I can't tell you the name of these cutters because I don't think TikTok is going to like the name of them, but they are very handy. These are made by Nipix. But I have notched them just a little bit. I got one spot where I found a sparky wire once, a little spicy wire. So I got to be careful when I'm cutting. You can use all different kinds of things to cut these. I've used scissors before. They actually don't work bad, but don't use your wife's fabric scissors on this. That'll get you in trouble. So if you're a creative type like me, one of the things we need to work on is constraining our designs. I see 500 different ways I can make this dragon work. So I want to start by finding my constraints, the things that I have to work within. This post needs to be here to support the roof, so that's not going anywhere. This concrete is supporting the post, but it's also making a base. But there are elements. This is the old curve, and this is the old curve of the original steps. Those look kind of nice, and I want a little bit of this brick to show up underneath it. I need to remove the rest of those forms, but I want a little bit of this brick to be showing underneath it to tie in the rest of the brick columns on the house. I need to support this back area. See where that dirt is? This is not okay. If I leave that, that's going to slowly erode, and then this won't. So I need to come up with a way to support that as part of this structure. I need to deal with this handrail, or not handrail, but I guess it'd be kind of a handrail. This brick wall basically that was here and had a porch support coming on top of it. So we need to restore something into that area as part of this structure. So where did my dragon's feet go is my first question, because when we're doing something like this, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way upward. So now we're going to work on turning this into bones or structure for underneath. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to rotate it in on itself, and see these wires here? I'm going to poke those through, and then I'm going to poke these wires through like that, and now I'm just going to fold these around and poke it through. See, now that's going to hold that round shape, and it becomes stronger the more of these we attach. So we'll poke this one through like so. Apologize for all the noise. They're doing some construction in the neighborhood. Okay, so now we're going to poke that through like so, and we'll poke this one through like that. See there, now we get this, and now it's more resistant. It's going to hold a round shape. This is how we're going to make legs. This is how we're going to make arms. This is essentially going to become the structure that we build on as we make the statue. So now I've made a nice tube. It can be flexed, but only barely. In order to bend this to a shape, all I have to do is get in really tight and just bend a few of these like this, and now that area becomes a place where it can bend, see? But it'll hold the shape of that bend, and if I decide I don't like that spot, I can pull it back out just like so. So this isn't quite as easy to work with as the aluminum foil we made with the mermaid, but it's very close, and it's very rigid, and it's going to be very good for what we're doing. This is much slower and tedious than it looks. So I want to have the claws coming down and grabbing a hold here. This will be like a forearm, and then that's going to be an elbow that's going to bend out and come upward, I think, at least right now. We may change. This is an important step. I'm adjusting this, and this represents lots and lots of taking it off, putting it back on, taking it off, putting it back on, over more than an hour. Sometimes you get off to the wrong foot on things. I've decided to change from the right side to the left side for the foot that's going to be down And we're going to head and start bringing it up a little bit higher here. We're starting to form a little bit of torso coming backwards. That's just, again, this is skeleton. We're not going for the full size or scope or any detail. It's real easy to get discouraged during these parts. I've been redoing this over and over again for the past while. The thing I probably underestimated the most is how much the sun was going to be in my eyes trying to work on this project. I can't really look at what I'm doing very well. Alright, now we got to get some of this, where the car is impacted, out of the way. Ooh, that's heavy. That's kind of heavy. Here we go. Woo! I'm sure that dust is safe to breathe, right? Okay, this part's going to come down too. Huh. So the dragon's body is going to come down this way, then we're going to have some legs back this way, and then a tail. That's kind of fun, but kind of sad too. The shock wave, as that car impacted, came across and it knocked all these bricks loose. Once I get back into here, it's fine. You can kind of see this is about the remainder of where the mortar doesn't hold anymore. So everything from here back, even though it looks somewhat intact, I can tell it's deflected and curved outward from just that ripple of that shock wave, and the bricks are super loose. So even though they look almost like I could leave them, that's just going to be a problem for years to come. Sometimes things look okay, but they aren't okay. Then you got to take care of them anyway. And I don't know what it is. Sometimes I feel like many of us get concerned more about problems that people can see over the ones that people can't. Probably analogous to life in many ways. You ever been concerned about something because people can see it more so than you probably would if people couldn't? And maybe neglected something that was a serious problem over something that was a minor problem because people could see it? I feel like I've probably done that in my life some. I don't think I'm going to be taking any brick masons jobs away anytime soon, but I think that'll be sturdy enough. Let's go ahead and do the next level. Time to get started on some sculpture. I've decided that's definitely where the leg is going. This will stick just fine to this cement since I didn't make it real smooth, since I didn't go to a smooth finish when we did the slab. If it was smooth, I would just wet it beforehand. And then the water, the moisture on the cement itself would let this bind to it. Rapid set will bind to any concrete that's wet. I'll be using my hands a lot. I have a pair of latex or nitrile gloves underneath these because otherwise, over time, this would definitely start to hurt my hands. And I'm going to be taking and making this into flat, almost like mud pies. If you ever made mud pies when you were a kid, I'm going to slap those onto this skeleton. One of the cool things about making a fantasy creature like a dragon is I don't have to know what an actual dragon's foot looked like. Nobody's going to compare it to a real dragon and say, that's not how a dragon's foot looks. You got the claws all wrong. Because there are no real dragons that I have to compare it to. At that point, it will just stay put exactly where we want it. A little bit of smoothing, starting to get it started. Obviously, we still got a long way to go.